friends, and welcome to my therapy and theology videos, where today I'm going to be talking about the battle of reacting versus responding. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody was just really pushing your buttons? They were really driving you crazy? How about this for a situation to think about? What if somebody were to gossip about you, completely betray you, steal your spouse, murder your brother, and completely steal your entire profession, all within the matter of a couple of years? What would you want to do to that person? How would you feel about that person? Would there be certain things that you want to say to them? How would you handle that situation, especially in the moment when you're finding out about all of these things that have happened to you? Well, that's the difference between reacting and responding in those hard, difficult situations of life. Hi, I'm Megan, and welcome to Megan's Search for Meaning. I am a state board certified and nationally licensed addictions therapist who practices from a biblical Christian worldview. And this is a place where we talk about hard things and we merge together the fields of theology and therapy so that we can find joy and healing in this journey called life. The problem of reacting versus responding. What the heck does that even mean? Reacting in a difficult situation in life, such as the ones that I just described, means that I'm allowing my emotions to take complete control over my actions. And when I do that, I am going to either push people away from me or I'm going to turn them against me. Reacting means that I have a knee-jerk reaction to what is happening. There is very little conscious thought in what I do or what I say in the moment when I'm interacting with this person and it gets heated. Responding, however, is taking the time to make an objective and a conscious thought about the situation, how to respond with the end goal in mind. It helps the other person that you're interacting with to move towards you and to eventually become somebody that is for you. The situation that I just described a couple of moments ago, you can actually find in the Bible. King David's family was super dysfunctional. And this specific story that I'm talking about can be found in 2 Samuel chapters 13 all the way through chapter 18. In these chapters, we find an incest rape that leads to murder, betrayal, rebellion, and death. Yet, in this really terrible and tragic story, what we find is a contrast between King David and his son Absalom. Absalom is the one who is reacting in this story. He's reacting to the abundance of dysfunction that has been happening in his family for a very long time. Tragically, his story ends in his death when he tries to completely overthrow his father's throne in the kingdom of Israel. King David is also caught in these situations, in the muck and the mire that comes with them. And I would even argue that some of King David's choices and the things that his children saw him do contributed to the dysfunction and to the strife that his family had, and that led to this really difficult and sad time in their lives. Yet, despite David's flaws as a human that we all have, and as a father, we do see that he is responding differently in this situation compared to his son. Absalom is attacking, plotting, and purposely betraying. And because of those actions, what's happening is he is pushing his family completely away from him. And in that, people are turning against him. His unprocessed anger from all of the dysfunction that happened in his family, from his sister being raped, led to the murder of his brother, the betrayal of his father, the rebellion of trying to take the kingdom, and then ultimately it led to his death, where he was stabbed in the heart by King David's general. David's response, although not perfect, is different. We know that David was very good at being able to process his emotions. When you read the book of Psalms, so many of them are written by David. And in fact, Psalm 62 is the psalm that he wrote during the years of this turmoil and strife that his family was going through. So make sure to check that psalm out. David feels his emotions, he processes emotions, and despite everything that had happened between him and Absalom, he desired for reconciliation. He did not want his son dead. And in fact, when the news was brought to him that Absalom had been killed, David grieved so heavily that he wished David himself had died rather than Absalom, his son. David was a warrior king. He had seen so much death, so much fighting, and there are several instances in his life where his own reactions of getting caught up in heated emotions led to pretty substantial consequences. So I would like to think that David had learned through his long life and the things that he experienced that he in fact learned the difference of reacting versus responding. And we see that in how he interacted with Absalom during this time. And unfortunately, Absalom did not learn this lesson, and his life ended tragically before he had the chance. This is obviously a super extreme situation. Most of us, probably all of us, aren't going to have the situation where we have a kingdom and a child of ours is going to rape one of our other children, and there's going to be murder, and there's going to be rebellion and betrayal, and then the other son's going to get killed, and it sounds like a mafia/horror movie. Most of us, probably all of us, aren't going to live that story like King David did. However, we are going to be in situations in our life where we will have conflicts, and we will be put in a situation where our emotions are strong, and we have to make the choice if we're going to react or if we're going to respond. So the question is, Megan, how do I learn how to respond? How do I stop this knee-jerk reaction? Well, I got some points for you to ponder. Number 1, the first thing to do is pause. It's important for us to know that despite our feelings and despite the culture and the society that we live in, that an immediate response to a situation is not actually required. It's important to take the time to be able to process our feelings and think about it. In 2021 and 2022, my husband and I went through some pretty significant family trauma, and some really hurtful things were done and said to us. And while the people that were involved in this situation didn't like it, and they didn't agree with it, and they didn't understand it, my husband and I purposely took a pause. We backed away from the situation, and we backed away from those relationships so that we could focus on our feelings and we could sort them out, process them, so we could work towards having reconciliation. Pausing is really important, taking a breath and figuring it out. Number 2, we want to have objective observation of what's happening. Sometimes, I would even argue a lot of times in our lives, we tend to paint situations with how we feel, and that may be based on past experiences. You might receive a text message or an email, and automatically you're creating a story about what that text or that email or that person means in between the lines or behind the scenes. So it's important to have and to work on practicing having an objective viewpoint. If you need help with this, having a neutral friend or family member to read the text, read the email, or help you process the situation might be helpful. Number 3, as we say every video for my points to ponder, we want to pray, we want to journal, and we want to get some counsel. During this situation with our family, anytime I had intense emotions came up, what I did that I found was really helpful is I wrote each person a letter. And I was as explicit and raw and mean as I could possibly be when I wrote those letters. I didn't send them to the people, but what that did is it helped me release those emotions that I was feeling, or burn off some steam is another way to think about it. And then I was able to come back to those letters when I was more calm and process through them. I was able to take those letters and those feelings and thoughts to the couple that was counseling us so that we could figure out what was really going on, where was my pain, and how can I address it. And then that led me to be able to be praying and working on and journaling for myself in my own healing journey. Finally, number 4 is you want to be able to forgive yourself. Just like anything in life, especially when we're trying to heal the way that we think and the way that we feel, it's not linear. So if you start practicing these things and you start working on a place of where you want to respond compared to reacting, and you fall into those old habits of reacting to a situation, you want to be able to forgive yourself. Remember, we're aiming for progress, not perfection. You're not going to be perfect. I'm a therapist and I'm not perfect. Every therapist out there isn't perfect. Every pastor out there isn't perfect. We're all stumbling and figuring this out. And so forgive yourself or have grace with yourself. And make sure you're finding those moments where you are making progress. Like, hey, I was really objective about that situation this time, and I haven't been like that before. That's progress. Make sure you're giving yourself those kudos so that you can keep going forward. All right, friends, I would love to hear in the comments what you thought about responding versus reacting. Or if there's something that you're struggling with or want to know more about, leave me a comment and let me know so we can make a video about it. If you were encouraged by today's video, I would love for you to join this community that we are creating. So make sure that you hit that like, subscribe button, and leave me a comment to let me know. And until next time, let's find joy and healing in this journey called life. Bye.